Welcome. We're glad that you have joined us today. Are there announcements this morning?
Turn it on. Oh, there we go. Thank you. This is your second notification of the annual meeting that will be happening next week, right after church. So everybody come if we can. Thanks.
There will be not only annual meeting next Sunday, but we've got a couple other events coming up this week, and that is tomorrow evening will be the Solidarity for a Better World potluck and discussion. So that's going to be at 5:30, not 6 o'clock as usual. So 5:30, and our own Todd Siefker is going to be presenting on the topic of U.S. imperialism. So if you're interested in that topic, please come by. But also, if you'd like to just join us for the potluck and such, that would be wonderful as well. And then next Sunday, we'll be celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. Sunday. And so that's always a special time for me. Not quite as special as today, because today is the most special Sunday of the year, in my estimation. I know nobody agrees, but absolutely no one agrees with me on this. But Epiphany is number one in my book, so just saying.
And Jan is not here today. She's not feeling well, but she wanted to stay home not to pass anything on anybody else. Her announcements are that we still have need for fellowship sign-up. We've got them through the end of January, but we still need, of course, February forward. There's the reminder for the benefit for George Owings next Saturday from noon to 4 p.m. at the Fellowship Club. That information is in straight to the points. There also is, cheat sheets here. Summer Court sister passed away, and she has a cat they need to rehome. So if you know of anybody who's looking for a very friendly, loving kitty, contact Summer, and she'll take care of that. And there's one more. Oh, after church, we are going to be taking down the Christmas decorations. So if you could please grab a quick cookie and come back in, help us take down everything. Shouldn't take too long with a lot of people. We need at least 4 people helping to move the tree after we get the decorations off. So a lot of hands make light work. Thank you.
Ellen?
Someone in our congregation had a significant birthday yesterday, which was 90 years old.
That would be her up in front.
Thank you. That's it.
Welcome to First Congregational United Church of Christ, Sioux City, Iowa, a community of faith where you matter. You matter no matter what are your abilities or disabilities, your successes or failures, for your worth is in who you are, not what you can or can't do. You matter as a transgender person, a female, a male, a non-binary person, or one whose gender identity is none of the above. You matter whether you are an immigrant, a Native American, a citizen, a refugee, or a visitor or transplant from another nationality, for we are all the children of God and all created equally in our worth. Welcome to this haven of hope where we always want you to know and to feel that you matter.
Let us join in the responsive reading for Centering Our Souls. We hear encouragement for the new year and this season of Epiphany from the prophet Isaiah. Arise, shine. Each day is a gift to us. Our life has come in God as revealed in Jesus and the prophets, and in each of us as we love one another and become the peacemakers of this world. We have set peace as our guide for living in all our relations, and we have made ourselves accountable to living lives of righteousness in thought, feeling, word, deed, and lifestyle. Our sun is God's love and mercy, and our moon is God's hope and grace. The brightness of our dawn attracts others to goodness we radiate. We are not covered or overcome by the darkness, for light's light, for God's light illumines us. With joy we are led by the light in the new year and for the rest of our lives. Our hymn is number 159 in the black hymnal, verses 1 through 3.
All right. Well, while we're waiting for William and Addie to come, quick shameless plug for tomorrow night. Talking about U.S. foreign policy, and seems like an appropriate topic now as we see what seems like lucrative opportunities to go and take from our neighbors, which contradicts, of course, the morality that we stand for here, but also it practically doesn't play out. If you look at history, these entanglements don't provide lucrative benefits that you think they do, and it causes lots of death and turmoil in this world. So we're going to look at two different things, Guatemala and Chile, and look at how RU involvement in those countries in the past and what that led to there and here, also in Sioux City, because it's actually affected Sioux City, Iowa even. So if you're really pumped for the opportunity to be able to share, so really excited about tomorrow night, 5:30. Yeah, so I hope you can make that, 5:30 tomorrow. And here they come. I really am thankful also for the opportunities to share these children message. They are so much harder for me to do than to get up there, because when I go up there, I use this, but when I'm with these guys, I can't use this, but I still have my little fuzzy whoop with me because if everything goes wrong, I'll still go to this. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys for coming. I didn't feel very good today, so I didn't want to share. You've been exposed to everything, but that's why I don't feel too good, Addie, so that's why I wore this today. I didn't want to share it with anybody. So today I want to talk about Epiphany and a guy named Isaiah. This guy lived 2,500 years ago, right? During a very dark time. I mean, very dark. He was kicked out of his own homeland. You imagine us having to leave the creek and go live somewhere where we don't understand the language. But he wrote some very positive things. Listen to what he said 2,500 years. He said, look, he said, lift up your eyes. Look around. In other words, stop looking down all the time at only what's right in front of you. Look around. There is still beauty in this world. Look at this. Look at that. It's beautiful. He said, you will see possibilities and you will shine light in the darkness and your heart will be happy and open. There are still unspeakable possibilities in this world, right? Don't just look at the darkness. If you look at the sky at night, right, there's a lot of darkness, but there's a lot of points of light, isn't there? And it says, and he wrote, the abundance of earth will be brought to you and the goodness of the nations will come to you. And think about the abundance of the earth that we've already felt down in the creek. All the little gifts that we get down there. And think about Alejandro and Alexia who came and lived with us from different parts of the world, how they blessed us. This stuff is still for us today. Everything that he said. And it said, and I wanted to just talk about this one little thing. He said, and the sun will no longer be your light of day, nor the moon by night, but God will be your light. The sun will not go down in us. It will always keep shining. Now, what the heck is he talking about? A sun inside of us? What is that all about, right? Well, that brings me to what I want to talk about today. A light that has not gone out. And I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you remember what happened? Maybe you haven't remembered it this way, but do you know what happened 4 years ago this week? No. On January 9th? No. Grandpa passed away. Oh, yeah. Grandpa passed away, yeah. And so I want to talk about Grandpa because Grandpa's light still shines. And this applies to everybody, not just our grandpa, okay? But we were actually at church. When my dad passed away, I was at this church. And we left the church, and my brother called and said, you got to come now. And I got there, and I arrived, and they said that Grandpa had already passed away. And my first word was, what? What? 52 years of my life, this light had shined in my life. To think that this world doesn't have my dad didn't even make sense. And I went in the room alone and sat with him, and it wasn't creepy at all. I just sat with my dad. And there's a thing in Spanish. When a person is born, you know what they say? They say that she dio a luz. She gave light to the world. That's how they say birth. When someone gives light to the world, that's how they say birth. But it's interesting that in Spanish, when someone dies, they don't say that se pagó la luz, the light went out. They don't say that. Because when someone dies, the light doesn't go out. Grandpa's light still goes on. And I want to talk a little bit about that, how Grandpa's light still shines. And I'm still discovering things about my dad. Just the other day, I've always felt like I was the different one in my family. My two brothers were two peas in a pod. They were just like my dad. They were just like, they could build everything. They could do everything just like Dad, right? And I was this kid that was going off to Indian reservations in Mexico. Like, you're odd, dude, right? And I always felt different. On that last day, the Saturday before he passed, he had been in a coma for a week. And I knew that night when I left, I had to say something. And sometimes you have to speak into the universe, even though you don't think the universe is going to hear you. And I said, I love you, Dad. And he just spoke like right out of the bat. He said, I love you too, Todd. That's the light. And the other day, Allison and I were talking about my dad. And I've always felt like the different one in my family. But she said, you were probably more like him than you knew. And I started thinking about that. But the fact is that my dad loved me just as I was. And that's the light that we inherit. My dad loved me just as I am. The freak one, the different one, right? And guess what? That light doesn't die, because you know what? I pass it on to you. And someday maybe you'll have kids and you pass it on to them. But it's bigger than just family, right? It's with all of us. We pass that love on for the different ones, for the people who are different. You know, Grandpa, I was thinking about Grandpa, how he grew up. Grandpa must have been a freak. Grandpa was probably the poorest person in his whole school. Grandma used to go and get a dog bone. She would go to the butcher shop and ask for a bone, saying she was going to give it to the dog. They didn't have a dog. They couldn't afford a dog. And she would put that bone in water and just cook the bone. That's what Grandpa ate when he was a kid. So when he went to school, he didn't have the cool shoes. He didn't have the cool pants. He was the kid that was put. But if you could have seen Grandma's love for him, my grandma's, your great-grandma's love for him, she thought the world of him. We got to keep passing it along, especially to people who look different than us. And that's the love. We get the joy of sharing that love and passing that on. And so the world is still full of love. It's still good because we get to do that. So anyway, thank you for letting me share about my grandpa. And it's for everybody because we're all in the same family. We're all in the same family. Anyway, thank you for letting me share.
Here for just a minute. William, you can go back, sweetie. You can go back. But William's, or you can stay here for a second too. William's going to light a candle for us so you can watch. Okay, good. All right. So let us all read together what is in the lighting the Epiphany candle. Let us read together. Epiphany is a season of light and illumination following the darkest days of the year. It reminds us that we all must let our light shine on all the world around us. When we have an epiphany, wisdom bursts upon us, and we are inspired by some new truth, like the truth that we are all siblings of one another, no matter our race, religion, ethnicity, nationality, politics, gender, sexual orientation, ability or disability, height, weight, or any other difference we might have from one another. When we recognize God's oneness and therefore our own, we affirm our equal worth and the need for each one of us to love and to be loved, to forgive and be forgiven, to love and cry, to work and play, to respect and be respected, and to value others and be valued in return. This is the work of grace, the spreading of light, both within ourselves and among our families, friends, and community. Thank you all. Here at First Congregational, when we come to prayer, we not only lift up our joys and concerns, but also any acts of compassion or kindness that we've either witnessed, participated in, or simply heard about. So if anybody has any of those things that they'd like to share, please do so at this time. I will make note, as the next person speaks, is that one of our own is in the hospital right now. So Phyllis Nicholson, she did have a broken bone after a fall, and she's in St. Luke's Hospital. And after that, we're not sure how long she's going to be in the hospital, but she'll likely be going to a rehabilitation facility after that.
I just want to thank you again for all your help when you provide for the Moving On Box ministry. I have a wonderful opportunity for an act of kindness today. I know that you are going to help, or some of you are going to help take down the Christmas tree, but I went buying for the Moving On Box, and I could really use some help taking stuff out of my car and up to the Moving On Box room, because otherwise, you know, it'll be on us to do that. And so we could really use some muscles. So here's your opportunity for an act of kindness. I'd really appreciate it. And I'm also serving today for fellowship, so I can't do it right away, but I could really use the help. Thank you so much.
Others? I want to express that I was grateful for all the heartfelt emotions and the mutual compassion for one another that was shared at the vigil here at the church last Thursday evening. It was a blessing to support and feel supported in times that try our hearts and spirits. And so I was thankful for all that showed up for that evening. Anyone else?
Mine isn't necessarily an act of kindness I've witnessed. It's an act of kindness that I'm kind of asking for. We have, a congregation. It's a West African congregation, Methodist congregation, that are meeting in a gymnasium right now, and they'd like to share our worship space with us. And so we're going to talk about it more in depth next week at the annual meeting. But I know there's been lots of conversation about, what's happening with our church and our congregation. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but they'll be not in any way affecting our service or our times or anything. But it's a neat opportunity, I think, for us to invite in another congregation that is mostly immigrant, very low income, and needs a good sacred worship space. And so we'll talk about that next week. But if you have questions, let me know this week. I'd be happy to answer them.
All right. Seeing no others, let us be in silent meditation at this time. Holy God, we are thankful this morning to be able to join together in sacred fellowship. We're thankful for that every week, for the ability to do that, and for the blessing that it brings to all of our hearts and minds and souls. We pray for our world now in a time of darkness, not only literally because it's some of the longest days of or longest nights of the year, but also some of the darkness that we see around us in the world. Help us to be the light to this world in our own community, in the lives of our families and friends, but also well beyond that. Let our light shine upon all in our country and all around the world, that our actions of love and peace and justice and goodness may be a blessing to all who witness the light within us. All these things we pray in the name of the light of lights, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Join in unison prayer. O God of light and life, we are thankful that you illuminate our dark places and bring joy to our bright places. Beauty and grace abound as we are made aware of your presence in our waking, eating, working, playing, and resting. Your Spirit encourages us to hope, entices us to trust, and emboldens us to love, so that we might keep and create the peace that you desire will live within us and between us. Inspire us to be light and life to all we meet, both near and far, family and foe, friend and stranger, for we are all your children and siblings of one another. May we make it so. Our next hymn is Arise, Your Light Has Come, number 164 in the Black Hymnal. Our scripture reading today comes from Isaiah chapter 60. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the divine truth has risen upon you. For darkness will cover the earth, and thick darkness the peoples, but divine truth will shine through you. Nations will come to your light, and the honorable to the brightness of your dawn. Lift up your eyes and gaze around. They all gather together. They come to you. Your sons will come from far away, and your daughters will be carried on their caregivers' hips. Then you will envision what might be and be radiant. Your heart will be elated and open wide. The abundance of the sea will be brought to you. The goodness of the nations will come to you. A multitude of camels will cover your land, the young camels of Midian and Ephah. All of those from Sheba will come. They will bring gold and frankincense and will proclaim the reverence of God. I will appoint peace with justice as your overseer, the compassion as your taskmaster. Violence will no more be heard in your land, nor devastation or destruction within your borders. You will call your walls liberation and your gates honor. The sun will no longer be your light by day, nor will the moon give illumination to you by night. But God will be your everlasting light and will be your radiance. Your sun will no longer set or your moon wane. God will be your everlasting light, and your days of mourning will be extinguished. Your people will all be righteous. They will be rooted in the land forever. They are the shoot that I planted, the work of my hands, so that my ways might be emulated.
Thank you, Anne. Of all the days in the Christian calendar, Epiphany is my absolute favorite. Sometimes I reflect on the Magi, the wise ones coming from afar, foreigners they were, to see the birth of the Prince of Peace, the Messiah who was to bring peace with justice to all throughout the whole earth. I think about how Matthew's gospel of them coming from lands outside the dominion of the Roman Empire would have brought hope to the people living under that dominion. I think about the vision for a world in which was not divided by nationalities, ethnicities, religions, or even sexual identities. For we all, every single one of us, were born to be the children of God, the children of goodness, virtue, and love for one another. But today, I think of another way of thinking about Epiphany, a way derived from its root meaning. In Greek, the word epiphania means to shine forth, show around, reveal, make manifest. As it is often translated in English, it means to suddenly become aware of a divine revelation or sacred understanding about something vitally important that you were not clear on beforehand. It may be the immediate realization of a deep truth, the perception of the essential nature of something, an intuitive grasp of a profound reality, or an illuminating discovery or disclosure of something of great spiritual worth or ethical value that was previously hidden from view or a full understanding. Sages of the past have spoken of epiphanies as a sort of taking away the veil of ignorance. It may also be construed as the unveiling of the shroud of misunderstanding or the opening of the mind and soul to the light of insight or truth. To have an epiphany in the ancient world was to get a glimpse, only a glimpse, of truth. The word for truth in Greek is aletheia, which itself contains the word for God, theos. The Greeks understood that truth was something humans should never be confident in saying they had. For truth was what true reality was. It was the viewpoint or perspective of God. Truth is God's worldview, not that of humans. This is likely why Socrates claimed that the only thing he knew was that he didn't know. Humans were to seek for truth, but never to trust that they fully had it. The opposite of truth for Greeks was not as much falsehood as it was another word, illusion. An understanding of many ancient cultures, including in India and the East, where it was believed that all that humans perceive was Maya, illusion. Illusion is different from falsehood in a fundamental way. Falsehood is something that can be recognized fairly readily when there is evidence to disprove it, and in which one who tells falsehoods may be aware that they are actually lying. Illusion, on the other hand, is where people believe they have the truth when they actually don't. They are blinded by illusion, thinking that they know when in fact they remain ignorant. Illusion is even more dangerous than outright falsehood. For with falsehood, a person can be shown that their viewpoint is incorrect, whereas with illusion, they can't. With illusion, people will believe they have the truth even when it is pointedly proven right before their eyes that they don't. They will believe in the illusion even at the rejection of their own eyesight, hearing, and logical reasoning. People caught in illusion are the most dangerous of all people, for they become arrogant in believing that they are right when they are wrong. Has there ever been any human culture in which many were not deceived by the illusion while thinking they had the truth? When I think about my own disillusions, but I also think about my epiphanies that have transformed my own thinking and understanding throughout the past. They are the experiences in my life that I most treasure now, but which were sometimes excruciatingly difficult for me when they happened. They awakened me to understandings that I did not previously have. They opened my eyes to see the world and reality different than I had ever seen before. And these epiphanies, because they made me look at the world in a way in which I had never had before, required me to change my whole way of perceiving the world. Once I had these epiphanies, I could never go back to the understanding the world as I naively had before. At times, these epiphanies so transformed my worldview that my habits and practices had to change. I couldn't remain the same person I was before. I had to give up what I formerly thought was true. I had to abandon the darkness of limited ideas that I once saw as light and truth in order to catch a glimpse of truths that were far more illuminating than I had previously imagined. It meant I had to give up the comforts of what had become a way of looking at the world that had made sense before the Epiphany, but which could no longer make sense after the Epiphany. Have you had epiphanies like that? I hope so. For we all need to look at reality more broadly and deeply. It's what spiritual growth and moral maturity require of us. I would love to hear your epiphanies that you've had in your life sometime. Let's find a time to chat about those. What do you say? I've come to realize that there are not many people I know who relish the holy day of Epiphany as myself. Indeed, I've come to think that I might be an oddball in this way of having it as my favorite holy day. Maybe that's because our culture, especially in these days, does not affirm growing in knowledge and understanding, acquiring wisdom, and abandoning long-held beliefs. Most people instead want certainties and inviolable truths that are once and for all held to be unassailable. People want to have a faith that never changes, one that reassures them that they have never really been wrong about the things that really matter. But is that itself not an illusion? Me? I've rarely ever thought of faith or life in that way. It has long seemed mysterious and illusory. And every time I have thought that I have found an inviolable truth, with the exception of virtues like compassion, benevolence, unconditional love, and shalom, all those others, though, I've been humbled with epiphanies that have made my prior understandings look rather pitiful. And I'm thankful for every one of those epiphanies. For without fail, they have made me a better person. And that is why I love Epiphany. It's a holy day that encourages, prods, and outright demands that we try to improve ourselves by improving our understanding of others, the world, and wisdom itself. Epiphany shoves us into realizations that transform our reality, whether we want it or not. It forces us to choose to be better ourselves and to make better our worldviews, or else confine ourselves to the prisons of stale thoughts, stagnant beliefs, and simplistic moral ideals. Epiphany turns our black and white worlds we grow accustomed and comfortable with into vibrant, colorful mindscapes where we must mythopoetically imagine and creatively wonder about how reality looks from a differing perspective, a divine perspective. Epiphany acquaints us with divine truths when we were quite content with human ones. It shines a light on our conceptions, revealing our prejudices and laying bare our errors in thinking. And it does so in a way that reminds us of our own need for repentance, without asking us to wallow in past mistakes. Epiphany asks us to move into a more sacred way of being and apply them to our lives, to apply truth to our lives, so that we might envision a better world than we have now, and so act and practice deeds of goodness that will aid us in bringing about such a world. Do you feel my excitement about Epiphany? Do you understand why I love this holy day like none other? Isaiah must have had some epiphanies to come up with a wonderful image he had of envisioning a world of love, peace, and justice for all beings on the earth. When he talked about the lamb lying down with the lion and those creatures that were formerly in a relationship to one another as predator and prey, to eat peacefully together, sharing the grasses and flora of the field and forest, how could he not have had an epiphany? The world he and that we all live in doesn't look anything like that. It never has. So to imagine such a world as being possible and trusting that it could one day become a reality for all creatures of the earth, it had to take divine revelation to conjure up such an idyllic world. And here, in this chapter, Isaiah encourages us to have our own epiphanies. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the divine truth has risen upon you. I have loved these words since I first read them. They offer not merely hope, but the prodding to get our act together. Not just to pray for things to change for the better, but to act so as to make them become better. Unlike how many would like to think about God's intervention in our lives, where it's supposed that God will shine God's light on us and things will magically become better, Isaiah asks us to get up off our duffs, to arise and then be the change you want to see in the world, to shine your light on the world. Stop waiting for God to intervene, for Congress to intervene, for the Supreme Court to intervene, for the executive branch to miraculously have a change of heart. Instead, arise with courage and shine with faithfulness. If divine truth has risen upon us, then we are not to cover that light with a bushel basket. We're to shout it from the rooftops and let it shine from the mountaintops. We're to act as if the light within us can become a light that shines on the whole world, despite the world's darkness. Isaiah is no naive dreamer in fantasies. He tells us quite forthrightly that, quote, darkness will cover the earth and thick darkness the peoples. But he's not intimidated or made fearful of that situation. Life is scary, he admits. Sometimes it's downright terrifying, as we know, when people are terrorized by a military loyal only to Trump, and who are willing to kill people, anyone, in cold blood if they don't like you for any reason whatsoever. How can we not speak as Christians today about the murder of Renee Good by Jonathan Ross in Minneapolis this past week? When evil of that magnitude is on videotape for us all to see, we have to deal with it or else become hardened of heart and apathetic of soul. To choose to look away, to live in illusion, is what we all condemned the German people of doing while people were being slaughtered during the Holocaust. We don't want to be like that, do we? We want to learn the lessons of history, not repeat them, right? We see in these two human beings, Renee and Jonathan, very different understandings of how to live in the world. Renee, like Isaiah, seemed to have had some epiphanies in life. Those who knew her tell of how caring and compassionate that she was. And when she had every right to be angry with ICE agents terrorizing her own neighborhood, she instead responded in a way to de-escalate the situation. What may have been Renee Good's last words in life were to the ICE agent who murdered her. They are, "That's fine, dude. I'm not mad with you. I'm not mad at you." She kept her cool. She was even kind to one who was ordering her around and terrorizing others in her neighborhood. Contrast those words and attitude with that of Jonathan, the ICE agent who shot her 3 to 4 times when she was unarmed and not endangering anyone. Moments after she said that she wasn't mad at him, he shot her in the face at point-blank range. And after he murdered her, he called her an, I'm not going to use the actual term, effing bitch. I don't know what horrors he himself has experienced that might have framed why he decided to horrify the lives of others. But there is never an excuse for murdering someone so callously as he did to Renee. It was a hate crime in my estimation. He hated her so much for whatever reason that he could not contain his antagonism towards her. And he believed that he was better than her, when in actuality he was a moral weakling and a spiritual degenerate. He decided to take her life away from her, not caring whatsoever for her, her loved ones, her friends, and we the people of this country who would be appalled at his senseless vindictiveness. He only cared for what he was feeling at the moment. That is how evil people work, caring for no one but themselves. Do you think he had any epiphanies in his life? Has he ever come to see that all people are equal in worth and value? Has he chosen the ways of peace over violence? Has he learned how to love others as himself? I don't think so. I think he represents what Isaiah was talking about. Quote, darkness will cover the earth and thick darkness the peoples. He is a man of thick darkness, as are those who are funding the military-like forces that are terrorizing our people and who are giving them orders to go into areas where they're not even wanted and are specifically being asked to leave by governors, mayors, and other local officials. But today, there are national leaders who want to have control over everyone. And so they send these people in anyway and actively entice them to be rough with dissenters, immigrants, and anyone else who refuses to comply with immoral or even illegal orders. These leaders attacked Congresspeople who simply asked the military to not forget that they owe their allegiance to the Constitution, not a president, and that they should never obey an illegal order that goes against the Constitution. And for saying that, this regime said that these Congresspeople should be executed. Because what this regime wants is not for the people to do what is legal, but rather to do whatever they say, no matter its legality or its morality. That is what dictators and tyrants require, not anyone who looks out for the interests of the people. Trump himself said just this past week in responding to criticism of his imperialist and illegal bombing of a sovereign nation and the kidnapping of its president and his wife of Venezuela, quote, I don't need international law. When asked if there were any limits on his international power, he said, quote, yeah, there's only one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop me. He therefore refuses to conform to international laws that our country has supported since at least the beginning of NATO. This undermines international peace, not only for our country, but for all countries. That's the kind of, as Isaiah calls it, darkness that will cover the earth. Scripture's coming alive. Isaiah was aware of the abominable cruelty that some people enact against others. He was no Pollyanna who didn't see the awfulness of darkened hearts, minds, and souls. And we must see it today. That ICE officer and the entire Trump regime represents the pure evil that people are capable of when they come to think that they are better than others and have a right to control and command others and make them obey. That is what fascists do. They think they are superior and that everyone should simply obey everything they say. They don't care about other people. And so they treat them as beneath them. And so when even after an innocent woman and mother, a poet, was murdered viciously in her own neighborhood by terrorists who invaded her safe place with guns and violence, the terrorists, not just the agent, but Kristi Noem, Donald Trump, and J.D. Vance made up lies about what happened. They decided, instead of the truth, to assassinate the character of Renee, and even blamed her for her own brutal execution, which she suffered because of their immoral orders. Evil people blame the very ones they victimize. They refuse to accept any responsibility or accountability for their actions. They always blame the victim, like an abusive spouse or parent. They are offended when people don't obey their every wish, and because they have no moral compass, they let their anger get the best of them, and they are willing to abuse, even kill, those who don't feel that they are obeying them. That's as dark as human beings get. And we are seeing it in our own country day after day. Sometimes the epiphanies are not of the wondrous visions of what we could and should be as humanity, but instead are the realizations of how heinous and horrible some people have allowed themselves to become. It's hard to realize that some people are truly evil. One doesn't want to admit that, especially as a Christian who was taught to believe that all people are good and that God's own image was placed in each one of us. That's a hard belief to hold on to when you see ICE, Border Patrol, and other deputized thugs and paramilitary agents terrorizing our country's neighborhoods. Well, at least the democratic cities. And then thinking they were justified and even laughing about it. After the murder of Renee in Minneapolis, ICE went on to terrorize in the same community a local elementary school with gas while arresting some of the teachers there. And later that evening across the country, in Portland, Oregon, 2 more people were shot by government officials who weren't even supposed to be there according to the orders of the Portland mayor. But fascists don't care about laws, except for the ones they make up. They spread cruelty because they know that it makes many people afraid of them. And the more people that are afraid of them, the more power they have over them. Power is what they seek. They want to control people, for that is how dysfunctional and toxic people get their kicks. It's how they steal from the poor, bully the weak, and try to dominate everyone in their path. And when they get that kind of power or feel that they are better than others, their cruelty doesn't end. No, they relish and laugh about how they ruin the lives of others. Sadly, the darkness is currently winning. I have no doubt about that. They just installed 4 new technocrats as high-ranking military officials, one step away from being promoted to generals, even though they have no credentials. If they come to control the military, we've already seen in other fascist countries what happens next: ethnic cleansing and genocide. The oligarchy is taking over, and they have no compassion. They indeed have claimed that they disdain empathy. Don't believe for a second that they'll spare any of us who don't show obeisance to them. Renee Good didn't comply quickly enough, not within seconds. And look what happened to this white, attractive, intelligent, talented, cheerful, and upstanding young woman. At the vigil that we had at the church Thursday evening, we who were gathered told of how traumatized we all were at what this regime is turning our country into, how blatantly cruel they are, and how their cruelty is increasing. Perhaps some there had their own epiphanies. Maybe it's the light of understanding how evil people, including our own government, can be. Maybe it's the recognition that as evil as this regime becomes, there are those of us that try to do differently. I shared the other night at our vigil that while I was absolutely livid at the atrocity of a terrorist ICE thug shooting a lovely young woman, a poet, in the face 3 times, I was equally appalled at the response of those who tried to justify the shooting and who even blamed her. And I was beside myself with the horror of having seen over 1,000 laughing emojis on a conservative Facebook page where it described her horrible murder. And that was soon after it was posted. 1,000, just like that. I couldn't fathom how thousands of people in our country could laugh at the brutal murder of a 37-year-old mother, wife, and poet. What is wrong with people that they can laugh at that? It's inconceivable how humanity can get any darker than to laugh at the brutal murder of another person. It's unconscionable. It is pure evil. It breaks my heart that people can be filled with this much hatred, malice, and cruelty. I pray to God that it breaks your heart too. For if it doesn't, you haven't had an epiphany, and you may not have much heart left. I will never understand how people could let themselves become so enamored by a regime so evil. But what I do understand is that they are willing to follow him no matter what he does. And the way they do that is by some form of mental gymnastics that, without fail, tries to make it look like he's the good guy. When confronted with video evidence of awful actions, they somehow cast it aside as it doesn't matter or it can't possibly be true. They would rather believe him and this regime than their own eyes and ears. How Orwellian. And we see it once again in the murder of Renee Good. They live in a cult of illusion. Isaiah didn't shy away from telling how dark the world of people can be. And we shouldn't do so either. If we don't admit the depths of evil in this society right now, we will never be able to oppose it. We can't oppose what we don't admit is real. But we are not to despair or give up on our own light because of the darkness of others. We must arise when we have fallen down in anguish. We must shine when our anger rages at those who willfully victimize others and laugh at the suffering and deaths of others. So it is in this dark time, one of the darkest in the history of our country, though still not as dark as the genocide against indigenous people or as dark as the enslavement of African people, but still pretty dark, that we need to remember the words of Isaiah to arise and shine, for our light has come. When we can be that light, to let it live in us despite how dark our world can be, it is then, as Isaiah tells us, quote, then you will envision what might be and be radiant. Your heart will be elated and open wide. We may only envision it and not experience it, but it does good to our heart to even envision it. We are radiant when we work for that which is beyond even our own expectations. We are elated when we see the promised land from a distance, even if we, like Moses, never enter it. And our eyes open wide when we see others who have the same vision and try to pursue it, even though we may not be able to make it happen. I was pleasantly surprised the other night to see some new faces from our community and beyond who had never attended a solidarity gathering. Many people expressed gratitude that we held this vigil of outrage to let them express their grievances against this regime in a public forum. One couple came all the way from Vermilion to speak, be heard, and to hear the voices of others. There was a lessening of our own burdens and knowing that our burdens were shared. There was a renewed hope and recognizing that there are other people who care about decency when the majority of people seem apathetic, in denial, or actually happy about the cruelty going on in our country. When we share out of our heartache at how horrible people can be, it reminds us that there are some, like us, who have the decency to care about others rather than to ignore what is happening to them. Some folks, I hope, had epiphanies the other night. Some of those epiphanies of how awful things can get. But hopefully some epiphanies of seeing that there are still others like us gathered who refuse to give up or give in to totalitarianism that is now spreading throughout our land. I don't have a lot of hope for our country right now. The overwhelming majority of our population is not taking what is going on seriously. We're no longer a democracy or a republic. Our legislators have been bought to serve the oligarchs, not the people. We are now under a totalitarian regime. The experts are agreed on this. It's not coming, it's already here. Most are blind to it for whatever reason. But we now have happening every single criterion for fascism. And despite that, I try to listen to the wisdom of Isaiah and keep that vision alive when he says, then, in that darkest of times, you will envision what might be. Sometimes we latch onto the smallest of hopes whenever we can in order to have any hope at all. That is what we all need to do. We need to trust that the values of Christ, those of egalitarian justice for all, those of universal peace for all creation, And those of indefatigable love for life itself will be what liberates us. And maybe it won't liberate us politically, socially, economically, or physically. But maybe it will liberate us spiritually and ethically. If we don't give away our own integrity, if we don't give in to our fears despite the risk to our health, safety, welfare, then maybe we will know the liberation of knowing that we truthfully tried our best. The killings in the streets, the raiding of people in their homes, now in this country, just like in Nazi Germany, have already begun. We have limited time to put a stop to it, or else we'll have no opportunity for effective resistance in the near future. 5 million people out of 340 million people is all so far that our country has been able to muster the courage and the integrity to protest what is going on. That's only 1.47% of our population. Only 1.47% of the population seem to care enough to get out into the streets and demand change. And far fewer than that are willing to unendingly boycott or engage in a lengthy general strike. The only peaceful methods that we have left of trying to overcome fascism. We are not a people, unfortunately, with the courage of our professed convictions. Threats to our income, our social status, or even our comfort level makes most people skittish. Well, dictatorial rule and fascism makes me skittish. And I'm willing to die to oppose it, just like the many who did in World War II. And unless we get a lot more of our population willing to die to oppose tyranny, we will submit to tyranny. I pray that it doesn't happen, but at this point, I fully expect it. But what I don't expect is my willingness to comply. I'll oppose fascism and authoritarianism until it kills me. It's what Jesus did when confronted with the same type of oppressive powers. He opposed it until they finally crucified him for being a resistor to the regime. To me, that was his light. He had an epiphany that his own spiritual and moral integrity was more precious to him than life itself. I had that epiphany back in college when I took that Holocaust course I'd mentioned before. And once you get an epiphany like that, there's no going back. You refuse to live as if you should be what people tell you to be and not what God tells you to be, no matter how much trouble it may get you into. Isaiah tells us, quote, I will appoint peace with justice as your overseer and compassion as your taskmaster. Violence will be no more heard of in your land, nor devastation or destruction within your borders. You will call your walls liberation and your gates honor. The sun will no longer be your light by day, nor the moon give illumination by night, but God will be your everlasting light and will be your radiance. Your sun will no longer set and your moon no longer wane. God will be your everlasting light, and your days of mourning will be extinguished. Well, that would be nice. I won't believe it until I see it. But one thing is for sure, I will do all in my power to work for it. Not pray for it, work for it. Whether or not I ever see it. I hope I can find cohorts in all of you in doing the same. That's how we arise and shine. When we shine amidst the kind of darkness in our country now, that is when, quote, others will come to our light, and the honorable to the brightness of our dawn. The brightness of our dawn is our commitment to truth when the powers that are lying through their teeth say otherwise. The brightness of our dawn is our willingness to advocate for the black and brown people they are mostly targeting, and protecting them from those who seek to harm, kidnap, imprison, and even kill them. The brightness of our dawn is our refusal to comply with any of their illegal or immoral orders that would have us to undermine another person's human dignity and rights. The brightness of our dawn is when we envision and behave as if a better world is possible, where everyone is treated equitably and caringly. The brightness of our dawn is when we refuse to remain silent or to comply in advance because of fears of what may happen to us if we don't do what the fascists tell us to do. The brightness of our dawn is when we are willing to die for our values rather than live with values that we cannot stomach. The brightness of our dawn is when we lift up the lives of the oppressed and remind everyone who has prejudices against them how beautiful and worthy of life and liberty they are, even while others are trying to take those things away from them. Are you ready to rise and shine and to reveal the brightness of your dawn? May we all be ready for that, so that we may be a blessing to ourselves and others for all that is to come. God bless us. Please join with me and sing the hymn as printed in your bulletin, Transcendent, Ineffable, Great Mystery.
Generation arises from gratitude like heat arises from fire. Like fire, gratitude is lovely to see, but when it warms others with generosity, that is when it becomes a true blessing. We invite you to place your offering in the offering plate, or you may give online or by mail. Thank you.
In the bleak midwinter, frosty wind made moan. Earth stood hard as iron, water like a stone. Snow had fallen, snow on snow, snow on snow. In the bleak midwinter, long ago. Enough for him whom cherubim worship night and day, a breast full of milk and a manger full of hay. Enough for him whom angels fall down before, the ox and ass and camel which adore. What can I give him, poor as I am? If I were a shepherd, I would bring a lamb. If I were a wise man, I would do my part. Yet what can I give him? Give my heart, give my heart.
Let's join in the unison prayer of dedication. O Spirit of enlightenment and understanding, let our epiphany be a light that is not only illumines our minds, but warms our hearts. May we realize the blessing of giving as a source of light and life, not only to those who receive, but to we who give. Let us not curtail the breadth of our generosity, but may we, like Christ, treat others as we would want to be treated, seeing in others ourselves and seeking their welfare as we would our own. Let justice, peace, and love light our way in all we think, do, and say. May it be so.
Hear these words of encouragement for your own spiritual journey. Today, Epiphany, Christ's light shines on you and through you. You are the light of the lives around you. When you shine with loving kindness, the outcast will see. When you careen with compassion, the oppressed will take notice. When you radiate peace and goodwill, all the world will see you as a friend. Let your light of love beam forth, that you may encourage even more than you are encouraged. May your lantern, filled with the oil of goodness, bear blessings for all you meet along your life's path. In the name of the one whose life is light, may it be so. Please join with me in singing, Let There Be Peace on Earth. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God our Creator, children all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. It's good to see you. Oh, thank you.
Wonderful.
How have you been?
Tough
Let me give you
year.
a hug. May 20